Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. So I know what you're thinking, why has he got a Strat body without the neck attached? Well, I am done with this guitar now, my Fender Player 1 Stratocaster. Yet another problem with the neck, this time the truss rod. I'm going to sell the body and all of the hardware for parts basically. And I thought I would do this video because I'm done with this guitar now. It's really let me down, and I'm done with Strats. I'm going to give you 10 reasons why I'm done with Strats. I am contradicting myself, you know. I've said a lot of positive things about this guitar over a lot of videos that I've done about it. Just a little bit of a backstory. You know, I've had this guitar since 2021. It's a Fender Player Stratocaster. I bought it from new, but it's just had so many problems with it. You know, check out the rest of the videos on the channel if you want details. But the final nail in the coffin, really, the last video I did was I was doing some fret crowning, which worked quite well. But I went back to the truss rod, you know, to make a little adjustment, just have a bit more of a faff about with it. You know, that is one of the problems with Strats. They are very fiddly, and I've spent too much time faffing about with it. But yeah, the truss rod is broke as well. That was the final nail in the coffin. The neck's done, so I'm going to be selling this, the body, and all of the hardware for parts, basically. So anyway, 10 reasons why I am done with Fender Stratocasters. Okay, so I mean, the main reason, you know, reason number one is this is my 8th Stratocaster, right? I mean, I've had various Fenders, USA Fenders, American. I've had Japanese Squires. I've had a Japanese Fender. You know, the whole sort of, you know, price range really. I mean, I've never had a custom shop or, you know, anything really over the price of an American standard. But 8 guitars, all of them have let me down. All of them have had issues. All of them have let me down. I've started off with high hopes, and this one had the highest of hopes. Check out the channel, check out all the videos I've done raving about this, and it's, you know, this has just let me down. Too many issues, right? It always happens to me with Stratocasters. You know, I've had probably more Les Pauls, I think. Never had an issue with them. You know, I've had not that many Telecasters. I think I've owned 3, and they've all been pretty good. So yeah, I've just got bad luck with them. That's reason number one. There's always issues, whatever, hardware, the neck. That's issue number one. Okay, so issue number 2 is the very fiddly guitars are Stratocasters. Like I say, I bought this guitar in 2021, and to be honest with you, all I've done is faffed about with it for 4 years. You know, I've messed about with the trem, the blocks. I've changed so many things on it and messed about with it. But what I haven't really done is played on it that much. You know, in contrast to the Squire Telly that I got recently, you know, that's had no issues. You know, and I've just played it constantly. So yeah, you just go down rabbit holes with Stratocasters, I think. You want to just set them up, you want to get the trem right, and you just end up just fiddling about with them, and they're all very fiddly. I guess you could compare it to sort of, you know, like a sports car, a Ferrari. You know, when it works well, you know, it's a beautiful thing, but that's when it works well. What about all the other times you spent tinkering with it? Anyway, yeah, so that's reason 2, they're very fiddly. Reason 3, you know, not directly related to Stratocasters, but you know, any guitar with single coils is of course the hum. You know, so at some point you're going to come across issues more often than not in the kind of the recording scenario where you're going to have a plan to combat the 60 cycle hum. I know what you're going to say, oh yeah, you can mod a Stratocaster to have noiseless pickups in, but I am talking about just, you know, your standard Stratocaster, you know, your American Pro 2, they don't come with noiseless pickups. You have to, you know, go for a sort of a special model or an Ultra or a Player Plus or whatever. I think they come with noiseless pickups. I'm talking about standard spec Stratocasters, right? So yeah, this is the hum. You know, something like you haven't got on a Gibson Les Paul, for example, with humbuckers. Right, so that's number 3. Number 4. Right, so the trem, right? This is kind of the whole point of a Stratocaster. It's an integral part of the guitar, right? Which means that, you know, adjusting that is going to have a direct impact on everything else. You know, there's the thing with the string bends, you know, so you bend the string. If the trem's floating, it doesn't have to be floating, but if it's floating, you know, you bend the string and all the others go out of tune, right? Which is something that you're going to have to think about. I mean, you could deck the trem, but I think that kind of defeats the point of having a Stratocaster, because then you've got no up bend. So, you know, some people always got to work around to these problems, these inherent problems with Strats, right? A workaround is not, you know, a solution. The solution is a design thing. So just have a fixed bridge, or, you know, a Floyd Rose, like a lock-in trem if you're a heavy trem user. This traditional Strat is a kind of a compromise. The non-lock-in trem is always going to be a compromise. You know, you're always going to have tuning issues, right? You know, something like a Tele or a Les Paul, you pick one of those up and it's just like, why am I messing about with this ancient floating trem, non-lock-in trem? Yeah, so yeah, it's frustrated the hell out of me, this guitar and Stratocasters over the years, and I'm sick, I'm fed up, I'm done, ladies and gentlemen. Right, so number 5 is the saddles, the traditional bent steel saddles that come on even, you know, the American Pro 2 Stratocasters. And they're terrible. I've done videos on this. I replaced them with the blocks. You know, there's no string guides on them. They're ancient. They don't work, right? They've got the height adjustment screws that you're constantly fiddling about with. You know, contrast that with something like a Les Paul where you've just got a thumb wheel, you know, to like raise and lower the action. And these individual height adjustment screws on a Strat are just a pain. You know, I replaced them straight away with the blocks, right? For that, they cost £10, and it was much better. But like I say, standard spec Strat bent steel saddles are just awful. I hate them. Right, so there you go. So that's number 5. Number 6. So, you know, even compared to like a Telecaster, you know, the Strat is wanting when it comes to sustain, right? You know, clean tones, great, you know, legendary. But if you want sustain, right, forget about a Stratocaster really. You know, there's better options out there. Les Pauls, legendary. Like I say, even a Telecaster is going to have more sustain than the Strat. You know, you've got the low output single coil pickups. You've got that floating trem which just destroys any sustain. You know, you're never going to get a lot of sustain out of a Strat. Again, people have got workarounds. You know, you deck the bridge, you block the trem. Some people do that. They're just the workarounds, and they're not solutions, right? Higher output pickups. You know, outboard gear, just give it more gain, give it more gain. But I am just talking about just the design of this guitar. You know, you can give more gain to any guitar. The point is, inherently, the Strat is one of the least sustaining guitars out there, really. So that's it. That's number 6. Now, number 7. You know, what always got me about Strats was, you know, they talk about it's the ultimate guitar for modding. It's so easy to mod. Is it? You know, I mean, if you want to replace the pickups on a Strat, you know. I mean, okay, it's easy to do now because I've took the neck off, I've took the strings off, but I think it's far easier to replace the pickups, for example, on a Les Paul, because you can get around the back and it's got the cavity, you just access it through the plate and you can swap the pickups out. On a Strat, you have to take the entire scratch plate off and flip it over. That's after you've took the strings off, and I don't think it's that easy to mod compared to a Les Paul, if I'm being honest with you. You know, okay, sure, if you want to take the neck off, that's easy, but I would not advise taking the neck off a Strat. I mean, what about, you know, the torque? So, you know, how much do you tighten it? These are like fractions of measurements that you've got to get right to make the geometry of the guitar right. So do you really want to be messing about with taking off the neck? Yeah, it's easy on a Strat, but why would you want to do that? You would want the guitar right in the first place, wouldn't you? So I don't think a Les Paul with this having a glued neck is a disadvantage at all. I think Les Paul is actually easier to mod than the Strat. A lot of guitars are easier to mod than the Strat, so I don't know why people keep saying, oh, it's easy to mod. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. So that was number 7. Number 8, Fender are sticking to this 70-year-old design, right? They're sticking with this block, you know, on the neck joint, right? Their standard models are not even giving you anything, like any contour here. I mean, there is on the, you know, the more expensive models, but they're not giving anything. I mean, you know, the Strat's always been quite good over fret access, but why they don't modernise it more, I'll never know. You know, going back to those bent steel saddles again, why? I want blocks, I want a bit of a contour here. I want these issues with the Strat designed out. I mean, I suppose they are on something like an Ultra, you know, but why they can't do it on a sort of, you know, Mexican player series is beyond me. It's just problems that have always been there, and people seem to just tolerate them. I'm not tolerating it anymore, right? I'm done. I'm done with Strats. So that was number 8, right? Number 9, the bridge pickup, right? I know, right? I know I've talked about the tones, the Strat tones in other videos, raving about it, right? But a lot of people complain about the bridge pickup. Now, compared to the bridge pickup on a Telecaster, you know, this is rubbish, isn't it really? I mean, the Telecaster bridge pickup, legendary, you know, much more powerful, much beefier, and more, you know, kind of getting more towards a Les Paul sound. And this is kind of, it cuts through, but it's very ice pick sounding. So you've always got to think about how you're going to tame it, right? And if you do tame it, right, obviously the neck in the middle, that's going to affect the neck in the middle, right? So if you've got an EQ, you're backing off the tone a little bit. I mean, you could just back off the tone on just the bridge pickup. That's not available on some Strats. It is on this. But why do I have to work around the problem? Again, you know, yeah, it cuts through. It's a little bit more higher output, but, you know, clean, that pickup is just about useless. That bridge pickup, it only really comes into its own when you start piling the gain on, I guess. It gives you a bit more clarity and a bit more cut. But yeah, I'll admit, you know, personally, I don't have a massive issue with it. All I say is a lot of players do complain about it, so I thought I'd put it in the list, right? Just as another negative against the Fender Stratocaster. This is a very negative video. Sorry, I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood about having to get rid of this guitar that I thought was going to be great, just like those 7 others that I've had over the last 30 years. And number 10, right? The last one is the in-between positions, right? So positions 2 and 4, which is these two together and these two together, right? I mean, you know, legendary clean tones, right? You know, not flat, sort of swing, whatever, right? Legendary clean, right? But just about useless when you pile on the gain. You know, when you pile on the gain, you know, you're probably going to be in the bridge position, right? And then if you start tinkering with these other positions, I mean the neck, yeah, obviously, the bridge may be for a bit, you know, a bit more bark in the middle position, right? But the in-between positions become very indistinct under gain. I mean, you know, if you're playing live and you're on the bridge pickup and you flick to position 4 or whatever, you just get lost in the mix straight away, you know. So they're only really good in the recording sense, I guess, for like different tones, but they don't really cut through. They sort of I find they tend to mush out a little bit under gain. So the flexibility that everybody talks about, you know, with the Stratocaster, and it is very flexible. It's legendary for being flexible. But what I will say is, yeah, for clean tones, right? if you start piling the gain on, you know, this versatility is just, it seems like there's too many options out there. You're not just, it's not like on a Les Paul where you under gain, it's like, right, I'll flick to the neck pickup, and then I might use the middle pickup for a little bit lower output, then I'll be on the bridge pickup. Having those 5 options, you're not really going to use them a hell of a lot under gain, I don't think. Anyway, so that's 10 reasons why I'm done with Fender, Squier, whatever, Stratocasters. They just let us down, they're just too fiddly, all those things that I've just described there. So thanks for watching, thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing. This is just one side of the argument, right? I mean, I've done countless other videos praising this guitar, you know, over the course of the last 4 years. I hope this gives you another sort of angle on it if you're in the market for one, right? You know, they're definitely not perfect, right? They're frustrating. I don't want to spend any more time with them. I've wasted 4 years tinkering about. I want to get on with, you know, creating. I'm just going to put this down and pick this up, you know, because this thing, which is just a Squier, £118, it's give us no stress, it's give us no problems, right? I just pick it up and play it, or, you know, record with it or whatever, or just plug it in, and it's just great. And the Strats just give us just hassle. So there you go, I am waffling. If you fancy subscribing, please do. I'm getting close to the 1,000 subs now. I'm getting up to about 800 at the minute, so I'd appreciate it if I just want to get over that 1,000. That would be great. Hope you like the video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.